Just stay calm. Okay, I'll be ready in just a sec. I'm just gonna send the link and then we'll get that up and we'll be ready to go.
Okay. And Nancy sent me a text. She's working on getting in. It's something on her end, not this end.
Can I close the window that has the YouTube or do I leave that open?
I just usually leave it open over on the side.
Okay.
Like you could put it under, close it underneath, or like minimize it rather.
See, that's the problem.
I gotta minimize something.
And then you need to make sure you mute the YouTube so that
Okay.
you don't get double feedback.
Mm.
I just checked and it said it was private.
I think I fixed it. Okay. Okay, I think we're really ready now.
Yay. All right. In that case, then I just would love to have a motion to call our meeting to order, please.
I move that we call this meeting to order.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. We have
Fantastic.
someone who's taking minutes.
Yes, that was going to be my next thing. Until
okay.
it doesn't matter who, but if anyone is okay taking minutes until Nancy can get in, I'm also
I can do
hoping-
it. You'll just have to remind me who just motioned. Was it Chuck and then Amy?
Yep.
Okay. I'll do it. I'll pull it up.
Thank you. And hopefully in a few more minutes after we approve last month's minutes, maybe Nancy can be in because I want to be sure we don't miss any speakers in case anyone reached out. So that is the next order of business. If everyone has had a chance to review September meeting minutes, if there's any questions, concerns, anything that was missed or needs to be changed, modified, please let us know. I did not for one see anything that stood out to me. All right, if no one else, in that case, I would love to have a motion to approve the minutes from September 23rd, 2021.
I motion that we approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2021.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Fantastic. We have motion to approve our minutes from September 23rd. I know that we had a different system where if anyone wanted to speak in the meeting, they could email Ben Rose, is that right? The front desk, and then that way we wouldn't miss anyone. Do we know if anyone asked to speak tonight?
I have not received any requests from the front office.
All right, when Nancy gets in, we'll double check. I'll make myself a little note to ask. In that case, we'll move right along since we don't have any visiting community members. Let's go to our budget update from Acadia. Miss Robin, our host for the duration of the evening. We're going to keep her.
I don't know. Am I host again?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at me. So tell me if you can see that.
I can see it.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay. Admit. Oh, Nancy. Look at me needing Nancy in. Hold on. Nancy's coming in.
Yay.
I think you
Let
just
me-
need to make it bigger, Robin.
Okay. I'm more worried about Nancy. Is she in? Because now I can't see the screen.
Yeah, she's in.
Okay. Hold on. All right. So I think Danielle had sent you the condensed version, which is what's on the screen, as well as a narrative. And so I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I just want to kind of go through this. As far as the budget goes, at this point, there is nothing that we can change, or I don't recommend changing, except for a few things as we go along. As far as the state revenue, the state has not voted on the budget, so there's no way that we know what dollar per child they're going to pay. Currently, your budget is based on 408 and 63 EC. I can tell you that your PMR, your first 20 days at school, came in at 400. So I know that we're going to have to reduce probably 8 kids, or we will 8 kids, if we were to, and honestly, this line 10, which is what I don't know if you can see. Oh, I gotta admit, this is exhausting. Kathy's coming in. Sorry. The line 10, when I highlighted, I don't know if you can see it, but this is based on last year's dollar per child. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Did somebody
I
say
think,
something?
no, I think you're good, Robin.
Okay. We just based this dollar per child on last year's rate. Typically, they'll raise it about 2.5%. But right now, like I said, the state has not voted on a budget, so we're just kind of in the dark. If we were to reduce the 408 to 400, you're talking about 45,000. But again, that's based on last year. So it's a moving target. So right now, I suggest that the board just leave it as it is. And then also wait on the transfer in and out. So at the April 1 head count, this budget is based on 63 EC kids in April. But then you have 60 days from the day that you start school to how many kids come in that are EC, how many leave, and then they will adjust that. So we're kind of a moving target. Typically that happens around late November, I'm going to say. But at this point, unfortunately, the state hasn't even voted on the budget. As far as the revenue, the only change that I recommend that we do is you had the blue clay sale. So I talked to the auditor, wanted to make sure that we are recording it properly. The revenue was 880,000. So I wanted to get that. So if you see that, it is right here. When I highlight this, I don't know if you can see it, but 880. So that is the true sale of the property. And then we will have offsetting expenses. Keep in mind, so 55,000 came in last year, which was the closing extension fees, the 25,000 and 30,000. So they came in last year. I talked to the auditor. He wanted to record that as unearned. Hold on, I gotta let Nancy in. Record that last year, roll it back into here, even though it was received last year. So fast forward, We got all that done yesterday. And of those 880, we recorded the 64,332 and the administrative, that's legal and general administrative fees. And then as well as the 767, So we had a finance meeting yesterday, day before yesterday. No, it was yesterday. We don't want to overstate the budget and think that it looks like we have so much money to spend, like it's per se just operating monies. So we decided as the finance in Acadia that we would create a line called contingency blue clay, and then throw that an expense in there, or recommend that the board throw an expense budget in there to wash that blue clay, so that we can determine later on how the board and the school decides they want to spend it. That way it's not looking like the net surplus is overstated, when in reality you may have it earmarked for, future projects. So I recommend that we add the revenue of 880,000, and then put the expenses in for the closing costs, because that wasn't in the initial budget, and then add the contingency for the 760,000 to offset it, and then that would be a placeholder, if that makes sense.
And that,
And then
is that something that, Robin, does the board have to vote on that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, I can't make a decision until the board votes, nor the school. I mean, unless the board decides that the school can make those decisions. But that's my recommendation, so that it does not skew the bottom line. And then, as you present these reports throughout the year, that it looks like, hey, you've got, $750,000 of, for lack of a better word, spending money that you can put towards something that maybe
I think it's a good idea, because it just creates more clarity. Like, that's not spendable money. So this makes it so that we don't think that it's spendable money.
Yeah.
Ask a question about that, the amount. Can you hear me?
Robin?
The blue clay, and kind of keep it clear from a board standpoint.
Hey, Robin, Joanne has a question for you.
Can you hear me, Robin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was just wondering about the amount. That's less than I recall the sale price being. So is that minus all of the fees and such? Is that
Yes,
what the
ma'am.
amount is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at the revenue, it's 880, but of that 880, I have it. Hold on one second. Of the 880, you had settlement charges of 53.3. You had county taxes. You had revenue stamps. So on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the deposit that went into the bank account was 760,000. And
Okay. And that's finalized, done.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So really, that's the only changes that I would recommend that we do right now. We do know, like I said, that once the state votes on the budget, that we will adjust the state revenue. We are also in the process with Kim revamping the federal, which it's kind of a moving target as far as the ESSER funds, to be able to capture some of these expenses that we have in the budget. The only other thing right now that what we're doing is to determine how much we spent versus the contingency that we had that the board voted on of the 720 versus how much truly that project cost. So now we're working with the project manager to determine what that balance is rolling forward, to determine how much more expenses we have to pull from fund balance. Unfortunately, it crosses fiscal years. So it like when I look back, it goes from fiscal year 18, 19, 20, and now we're in, or 19, 20, and now we're in 21, and we're moving into 22. So how to reconcile that is where we're at right now.
Does that cause it any issues? The fact that is going over those years that way?
No, the auditor
Okay.
captures that. It's just a matter of, hey, board, you said move 720 to roll into the next phase into last year. And then we assume that we stayed under the 720. But in reality, did we or did we not? Because some of the expenses were from the prior year. And then now we're rolling over into the new fiscal year. And you approved another 100,000, I believe, summer work. And in reality, is 100 enough? Or is it, I mean, I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just saying in reality, is it or is it not enough, or does the board need more? Does that make sense? Because right now we have no idea, because it crosses so many years.
Okay, I think I
That's what
understand.
we're right now. We've requested the breakdown from Mr. George to determine I think because it goes back to like 18, 19 of all the phases. But as far as the your true budget, aside from the facilities, right now you should be at approximately 75% of all your expenses, and you're good once we make these adjustments to account for blue clay. I mean you're on target as far as all the other lines. Technology is a little low, but of course, think about it. You purchased all these expenses up front, or these items up front, so it's kind of skewed on the front end, but it'll dwindle down as far as percentage wise. So I think at the end of the day, all the other lines are good. It's just a matter of nailing down the blue clay, or not the blue clay, I'm sorry, the project for the parking lot and the playground. And then if you look at that, I don't know if I throw this over here, if I throw this here, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we finalized the audit. The final fund balance came in. Keep in mind, fund balance is from the day that Cape Fear opened till June 30th, whatever. You have 1.442 million as fund balance. That's your contingency that you've inherited from day one until now. And then these are just notes, which is kind of what I've talked about, but I wanted to let you know the 1.442 million. I didn't want you to think that you started the year with zero. But this is kind of so 1.442 million, and then the board decided, bear with me, I'm going to pull up this cash surplus. Because you see this, and my internet is terrible. Oh, Kathy needs it again. All right. So this, I think this was in your package as well. So 1.442 million, right? And then the board said, hey, but we want to bring in another 100,000 to cover the summer work. And then we have the capital campaign of 12,617. This was in your budget. So those are in as revenues, kind of like placeholders in your budget. And then, so we say, if you stick to your budget, you'll have 1.3 million next year when you end. The second section is saying, hey, your budget is 74 in the hole. You have 1.3. So if I truly am $74,000 in the hole, I'll end the year at 1.255 million. That's assuming that you spend every dime that you budgeted and bring in every dime of the revenue that you projected, which is a moving target. This current budget net surplus will change because as we adjust the budget. When the state decides what they're going to do, of course, the blue clay will just be a wash. Actually, you'll gain 55,000 because half of that was from last year, or 55 was from last year. But it kind of gives you an idea. This is the purpose of this, to say, here's where you are. And if you stick to this budget, here's where you're going to end. The 1.255, which it will change every time you adjust your budget. That's why I recommend that at least quarterly you adjust your budget.
Robin, is the blue clay money in that 21 fund balance 1.4?
No, 50. So no, it's all in this year.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out because it's not making much sense to me.
You received 55. The auditor wanted to pop it out and say, no, don't put it in fiscal year 21. So he recorded it as unearned. So if you go forward, if you go forward, he moved the 55 into fiscal year 22, which is why we captured 880,000 as revenue in this fiscal year. So it will bump up your fund balance this year versus reducing it last year, if that makes sense.
So when you say fiscal year 21, that was technically what, June 30th of 21?
Yes,
The ending of our last school year. So when we close at the end of this school year in June of 2022, some of that blue clay money will be in our fund balance, and that will bump up the fund balance amount.
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
So if you look right here, when the board decides to record this revenue, this 880,000 is in your revenue. We will record this, but if you look, if I add 64 and 760 of washing expenses, it's 55. So 55,000 it will increase your bottom line by 55 because the auditor wanted to record that as unearned and roll it into this year. So really you have $825,000 worth of expenses, only because we're trying to, keep it as a wash under the contingency. And then revenue will be 880. So your bottom line will increase by 55,000 at the end of the year.
I understood most of that. I'm just processing some of those numbers.
Robin, it might be helpful. I think what's like slightly confusing is that when you look at where we'll be, if we stuck to our budget and you say we'd be at 1.2 million, what's confusing is where's the blue clay money then? So like it's 1.2 plus that blue clay money. I think the confusion is the fact that we're trying to not have it look like spendable money makes it look like it disappeared.
Yes, I agree with that. That's part of what I'm trying to figure out. Where is that money
Yeah, like in
accounted
the end, then
for?
where is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
I see it in there, but doesn't seem like it's really in there.
The thing is,
This
the
is very
other
confusing.
option, if I understand correctly, the other option is we can just record it as revenue and we don't have to put the contingency. What will happen is it'll look like we have a lot. It will look like, and we do, we have another $800,000 in there. But the
Yeah, if I
caution
were to
we
do
have
it-
is to just not, we don't want to think, oh, wow, we have all this money, let's spend it. We kind of wanted to earmark it until we have a conversation about how to spend it. That's what's happening.
But can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Where did the money, when we've had those, Robin, when we've had those other asset pages, that's where I usually thought, like where we have the 1 point whatever million, and then like 200,000. I thought that's where the blue clay money would go, is into the asset account, not into actual the revenue for this year.
So because the money came into the school, we have to record it as a sale of a fixed asset. So the revenue's there, which is why we have to record. I'm trying to get this balance sheet up. Which is why we have to record the not get this balance sheet up. The revenue and then offsetting expenses. So truly, you sold the property. The money's coming in. What did it cost? That's what's hitting the budget per se. The only reason we're putting that $760,000 at the bottom for contingency is so that the school doesn't, or the board or whomever doesn't think, hey, we have 760 that we can spend willy-nilly. And so we're trying to earmark it.
Okay.
Can y'all give me 5 seconds? I've locked my son out of the house.
Go ahead.
He's hitting
Okay,
the window with his tennis racket. Okay, hold on.
I think I understand now.
Okay, hold on.
Like, okay, it's just like how Joanne was saying it looks like it disappeared. And it did, but now I think I understand. It's because it's its own line item if we vote to do it that way. So that way it doesn't count as fund balance yet. That happens in June, but it doesn't show up as that money that came in that we can spend however we wish. We're just kind of keeping it to the side, its own little pot of money until we have a chance to have some discussions and decide how we might want to move forward. Basically, we're protecting that money so it doesn't get spent before we're ready to spend it.
Can I ask a question though? If it's in a separate line, okay, it's some line item is separate with a separate number on it, and that money is held in a separate account, then how is it going to look like money that we're going to be able to spend however we want? You see what I'm saying?
But that's why it's a separate line item. If they put it under that earned income, it would go in with all our other money. That's how I understood. That's how I understood her to say. So to prevent that, she's talking about if we vote for the separate line.
Unfortunately, we're cash basis with charter schools, so anything that happens, it transpires. It's not like it hits a balance sheet. If the money is coming in, we have to record the revenue, and then the auditor will flip it at the end of the year. So right now it looks like, hey, you've got, and I'm trying to pull this up. If you can see this, we have to be able to say your operating account has 1.295 million. Your money market has 273. You can see the money market 7591. That's your blue clay money. You created a new bank account to capture that. We still have to report it as revenue coming into the school for that fiscal year for the audit.
I understand that. I don't have a problem with that, but if it's on a separate line item and it's labeled the blue clay money and it's in its own protected account, then how is it going to be spent any other way than how we designate it to be spent? It can be shown as revenue, right? But it doesn't have to be lumped in with everything else on other line items if it's its own line item.
I'm sorry, I missed the entire.
I think Robin, I can answer this question. So Nancy, you're right. Like it doesn't mean that it would get spent at all. It's just the transparency of when you look at the condensed budget and you look at the bottom line, it's either going to reflect that money or not reflect that money. And so the idea for us was to try to protect that money, not to consider it every month when we start considering, like, where are we with our budget? How much of it? Because what it'll do is it'll affect all of our percentages for expenses. It'll affect all of our percentages. So we won't have a true picture because it'll look like we have all this extra money in the budget. So what we're trying to do is just not have it skew what our monthly reports look like, so that we really know, like, actually we have 50% of our revenue, not 80%.
Right. So let me ask this one more question, Danielle. If it shows that it's its own line item, all right, and it's in the revenue that's considered. But if we know it's not, it's like, for example, when I was doing budgets before, my understanding was this line item was for personnel expenses, another line item was for materials or curriculum, whatever it was. And it's anything that's spent comes out of a specific line item. So if that line item, we know we're not spending anything out of that line item, isn't that sufficient or not?
It's sufficient in terms of knowing that that money is for something. But what will happen is it will be added into all of the percentages and figures every single month. So every single month it will skew what we think we have in the bank account.
Oh, okay.
To use.
All right.
Danielle, can I ask a question real quick? Miss Robin was talking and said that it was washing out. This amount would wash out, and then we would add 55,000 to the end, I guess, for the June of 22. Is that correct? Is that what?
Yeah, because actually that money came in last year.
Okay.
So really it shouldn't be rolling into this, but the auditor wanted it to roll into this budget, because remember, it was the money that we got because they didn't close twice on the times they delayed their closing. So they gave us cash, which we deposited, but that's part of the sale, the total sale money. So what she's trying to explain is that that money is actually going to be rolling into this budget.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out the wash part. So thank you.
Any more questions for Robin?
I do not, but I also want to say I'm really happy we had this conversation because it makes things a whole lot more clear. So thank you for the people who asked those initial questions when we were kind of going, am I the only one who doesn't understand this? So thank you.
Very true, very true. So it sounds like we need to decide if we want to do a vote to approve a new budget line item called contingency blue clay, following Acadia's recommendation. Does anyone want to discuss that before I call for a motion to vote on that?
I think we've discussed.
Very
Anybody,
good.
anybody else
That-
feel different?
That will not have an impact on when we do decide what to do with the money, right? There will be
Correct.
no impact moving forward once we make
Correct.
decisions. Okay.
Correct. This is just a matter of making sure that our budget looks the way we need it to look, following Acadia's
Yeah,
recommendation
and-
on that for auditing purposes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and just not dipping into something that you don't want to until you decide what you want to do.
I could not hear that, but I'm not sure if that was meant for us or not.
He just
was
said,
just-
make sure we're not dipping into that money and think that we have more money in our account than we do for this year's budget. Like it's going to exist at the end, but we don't want to spend it right now. So
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes sense. All right. In that case, I'd love to have a motion to approve the new budget line item, contingency blue clay.
I'll make a motion that we create a new line item for the contingency blue clay funds. Was that clear
And a
enough? I stumbled.
Nope, I think that was good. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the new budget line item, contingency blue clay?
Aye.
Yay. I think I got everyone. All right, motion carried. We now have a new budget line item called contingency blue clay. Thank you so much again, Robin. You are officially off the hook as host and can hand that back over to Danielle.
Oh, gravy. Now I gotta figure that out. Stop
thank you,
sharing.
Robin.
Take your time,
Hold on.
but thank you so much. We really appreciate your help and just like everyone said, helping us make heads or tails out of all of that.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it, but I don't know how to hand it back.
So you have to go again, hover over my name.
Oh,
and
here, hold
go to
on.
more.
I got this. I've got to go to Danielle and I've got to click this thing and give her the host. Sorry.
You're good.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well,
Are
we
you
have,
good now?
can I just ask Nancy if she's doing the minute or no, wait, usually, yeah.
Yes.
Nancy.
It's
Okay.
Nancy now.
Are you doing the minutes? Because I was doing them on the agenda, but I don't want to be duplicating efforts.
You're sweet. Yeah, I'm doing them. I just
Okay.
simply having trouble getting in to the Zoom call, but I'm
All
here
right,
now.
we're all good. All right, thanks.
Are you good? So are you good?
I'm good.
No, I mean, am I good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bye.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Woo.
you.
Now I got to go do the tennis thing with my son. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Enjoy.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
All right. Nancy, I do want to double check. We didn't have anything that came from the front desk about anyone wanting to speak tonight. I just want to double check and make sure you didn't get
Yeah.
anything.
I will always text you if we do.
Okay, fantastic. Didn't think so, but wanted to be sure. All right, well then let's just move right along. We've got, I think, some new hires to approve. Is that right?
We just have one. So we hired a 4-5 teacher. Her name is Kimberly Cherry. And she actually is known to CFCI. She worked with our teachers last year. She helped us when we had to have online facilitators because we had remote students. And she worked with Miss Sharp and is very highly recommended by our staff and has, the experience of CFCI and knows about our inquiry process. And we think she's just a great match for the position.
And
Good.
And she will be starting on November 1.
any questions of surrounding Kimberly Cherry, before we ask for a motion? All right, in that case, I'd like to have a motion to approve Kimberly Cherry as the new 4-5 teacher.
I move that the board approve the hiring of Kimberly Cherry for the 4-5 position.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Tiffany,
Tiffany, good.
thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. All in favor. Motion carried. We now have a new hire for the 4-5 teaching position, Miss Kimberly Cherry. Welcome aboard. Wonderful. And she will start November 1, which is right around the corner now. Next is voting on masks per legislation that the board needs to have a monthly vote on mask mandates for school. Is there anything that we need to discuss that came from the COVID ad hoc committee?
No, there's nothing new.
All right. In that case, does that mean that the recommendation is to maintain as we have been with our current rules, mask indoors?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve continuation of the mask mandate as it currently stands?
I'll move to continue the mask mandate as it stands.
Whose voice was that? I don't have.
That was Amy.
Okay, good, Amy.
And a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck. All those in favor of continuation of the mask mandate as it stands?
Aye.
Fantastic. Motion carried. We will continue that. Next is the bereavement leave policy. I did have a chance to review it. Does anyone else have any questions or want to take a minute to review if you haven't had a chance to already? Danielle, anything to add, any feedback, anything you wanted to say on it?
Yeah, I think it's been now through the finance committee and through the PPRC committee. And I did tell the whole staff yesterday that we were bringing it to a vote today. And I would say that we have support.
Very good. I have a quick question. I've seen similar bereavement policies written a couple of different ways. I'm just curious, is someone going to be asked to submit any documentation for bereavement?
I did not write that into the policy. It wasn't in there before.
Okay.
I think I could use, or we could use some guidance on that, maybe from our lawyer. I'm not sure what's typically done. It feels a little not trusting. And we're a small family, and I would feel a little strange asking.
Yeah.
I would feel kind of uncomfortable with that, but if that was something you felt like you needed to do to
that's
protect
not,
ourselves.
I'm definitely not suggesting that. I've had to use that policy, and that was a conversation, and it put me in an uncomfortable position, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone else. But if it was going to be asked, I felt like it should at least be in the policy. So I am fine either way, because I can see the pros and cons to both. But I'm certainly not suggesting that. Like I said, being someone who has had to use that before. So that was my only question. I think the policy is great as it's written. I'm really glad that we've made some changes to it and that now it's come to a vote and we're ready to adopt it. Anything else on the bereavement policy before we ask for a vote? All righty then, in that case, may I have a motion to approve policy 554? I did say that right. That's because it's part of the sick leave policy, correct? Okay. Motion to approve policy 554, sick leave.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to approve the bereavement leave. 554.
In a second,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic, motion approved. We now have a new policy in place for bereavements. All right, and we will continue to move on. Fund the Wonder is right around the corner. I can't believe November 1st is this close now. But with Fund the Wonder, our annual fundraising, before we do our official November 1 kickoff, we discussed it a little bit last month. It would be great to have full board participation and be able to promote that out into the community. So there's certainly no pressure, but anything that anyone would like to give, no amount is too great or too small. That would be great to donate that. I assume cash check, and I don't know what other methods would be approved. Danielle, is there anything besides that?
Yeah, can you see my screen? I've just put up some of the different flyers and things. There's a bunch of different ways to give. You can text Fund the Wonder 244-321. There's going to be a QR code that's going to be all around that you'll be able to just scan with your phone if you want to donate that way. And there'll also be envelopes that are going to be going out through our students. So there's lots of ways to do that.
Fantastic.
And I also just want to mention the partnership has been doing so much great work with this, and Courtney Boucher also has been working on this with us, and it's been a real team effort, and we're like very excited to launch. And in collaboration with that, we're launching the new website, so you're going to see lots of great pictures and a whole new design. So we're very excited for November 1.
Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anything else on Fund the Wonder?
Just keep your eye out for more dancing dolphins.
Definitely will do that. Cannot wait. The December meeting, we touched on this a little bit last time about maybe doing something in conjunction with the Winter Festival that is typically done. I think it was the first Saturday in December.
And I checked and confirmed, and it will be.
Fantastic. So how does everyone feel about doing a brief meeting December the 4th? May not be much to talk about other than a mask mandate, but no other voting necessarily. And I assume we can just do something quick all together, maybe in the museum room or wherever that's convenient. We'll discuss some other logistics closer to time, but that would be Saturday, December 4th, time to be determined. Fantastic. Looks like that is the date for our December meeting. Danielle, if you can make sure that that change is made on the website about our meeting date and time changing.
Sure.
Fantastic. Making a note for myself. All right, and next we will do some quick quarterly updates on board goals. Let me find my.
Would you like me to put them up on the screen?
That would be great. Thank you so very much. So I'll go first with the goals that was the charge of the executive committee. One being developing and implementing an evaluation and feedback tool by May of next year. So we have made some steps on that. That was actually something that it's kind of been on the to-do list of the board for some time. Dave Boucher, before he left, I knew it was something that he had been working on, and we talked about that before he left to make sure some of that work continued. So we are in the midst of making something work for a 360 eval, and that we're still in some very early stages of planning on that, but I'm getting some help from Tom at Leaders Building Leaders. He's offered me like a template that has been used at some other charter schools. I'm going to talk to him about some ways to launch that, because I think that might be something that they can help us with. But like I said, I don't know much about that. I don't know if there's a cost involved or that sort of thing. Of course, that will also come to the full board if anything like that comes up. But basically it would involve maybe 20 or so stakeholders being able to give some feedback, and those will be stakeholders completely chosen at random, staff, admin, and I believe even some families, and that would be part of the process. Other things would be considered for strategic planning, academic, operational goals, that sort of thing. So that's where we stand on that. Hopefully I will know a little bit more well before our next quarterly update. And if so, I might just give an update on that just because even before the next update is due, which I think will be January, maybe February at the latest. I know that coming off of the holidays, it may not be easy for some folks to make a lot of progress. But that is where we are for that. And for the long-term goals, that's mostly part of our existing strategic plan. Just with so much transition and pandemic, we haven't made a whole lot of progress in the past year or two in that, but we are still working on that. And that is it for the executive updates on board goals. Next, I guess I will pitch it to, I think Steve and Tiffany and Lori had a goal.
Yeah, Tiffany, have you had any response back from Lori?
No.
Danielle, did you? I haven't had any response either.
Okay.
So
I can
Tiffany,
reach out to her for you.
It would be greatly appreciated because it's almost, So Tiffany, I guess we're gonna have to take the lead on it and figure it out.
Yeah, we can do it. And I have some resources, so.
Okay. All right. So email me and we'll get together and do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Nancy? I think
Yes,
you might be next on the list.
I don't have that in front of me. I'm crazy. Just remind me again.
No, it's fine. By June, Development Committee is charged with establishing 2 new relationships with community businesses in order to leverage resources.
I unfortunately missed the last 2 development committee meetings, and I do apologize for that. I've actually made contact with one business already, and we'll have that definitely taken care of by June. We'll have that pulled together.
Yay. Fantastic. Thank you.
I did give notes over, I think, to all of you and the development committee as well, regarding fundraising by another charter school that was about our same size and their success with that particular process.
I did get that. Thank you, ma'am. Danielle, did I miss anything before I pass it to you for director's report?
No, I think we're good.
Fantastic. Well, then it's all yours, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we already talked about hiring. We do have one open position. That was the Spanish teacher position that we've now advertised as the innovation expedition position. It's a specials position. So we're still in the process of interviewing and hiring for that. Just wanted to make you aware. These are our latest COVID-19 numbers. They've been really good. And we have new safety protocols and procedures actually that we're starting on November 1st. So starting on November 1st, we're going to have the ability to offer testing on site. So we can offer both the rapid test and the PCR test at school. And families will have an opt-in period. So families will be getting a link and they have 5 days to opt in to the testing program. And what that means is in the case that a student becomes ill at school or there's a case that pops up at school, we would then contact families that opted in or not opted in to ask permission, even if they've opted in, to then do the swab. If you don't opt in, you can later, but it will take time for the paperwork. So we wouldn't be able to test immediately if you hadn't opted in already. We also have the ability to do drive-up testing for students who are symptomatic and stayed home. So they just have to call the office and let us know, my child is exhibiting symptoms, I'd like to bring them in, and we can just do a drive-up test for them. In my report is all of the details that you can read, but basically, if the rapid is positive, we would then advise further. If the rapid is negative, we would still want to follow up with a PCR test because of the fact that the rapid tests are not completely accurate. So just to be safe, we'd want to do a PCR, which takes about 24 hours to get back. Something to note is that this swab is not the original ones that went all the way up your nose into your brain and was painful. These are very simple and pain-free swabs that don't go up very far, which I think most parents would want to know. So again, it's opt-in. It's done through Mako. They're our partner. They do all the processing for us. They send us the tests. This is a state program that we got a grant to opt into. So this is basically to try to help us keep kids in school so that we can quickly identify cases and make sure that there's not spread in our school. Also, we're going to use those tests to make sure that any unvaccinated adult in our community in the building working with children is either tested weekly if they work in the building regularly, or if they're contractors or volunteers or substitutes that do not have vaccination cards and cannot prove that they're vaccinated, we would then do a rapid test upon them entering the building. And that takes about 15 minutes to get the results. So we are asking the staff to opt in, even if they are vaccinated. If they opt in, they still have the choice of not getting tested if they don't want to at the school. Of course, they can go and do it anywhere they want. But if they opt in, it then gives us the option to do the testing at school if that's more convenient for them. So the best way for us to be able to do that in case they need it is for them to opt in advance. And that way we have them registered and we have the ability to offer that test to them. Any questions on the testing?
So just to confirm, someone has to opt in ahead of time to, but like they can't say, oh, now I want to get a test. And if they didn't opt in there, they're not going to be able to get tested. Is that correct? There's like a time period.
It's iffy. So the way that it works is it's through the Mako software. So if you hadn't opted in and we call and we say your child has come to the nurse's office exhibiting, symptoms, we're going to need you to get a test or do the testing here before the child can come back to school. And then you have not opted in and they say, well, could we please opt in now? We'd really rather you do it there at school than have to go try to find a test somewhere. We can then try and see if we can get the person registered quickly, but we might not be able to. So we can't guarantee if you opt in on the spot that we're going to be able to do the testing because we can't test anybody who doesn't get registered through Mako.
That makes sense.
And the message is there's no harm in opting in because we're still going to call you and check and get permission from you. So opting in is the best thing to do because then you have options. If you don't opt in, you might not have the option. Any other questions about the testing? Okay. Just wanted to mention that we had a monthly coffee chat. We had on October 15th, we did hot chocolate instead of coffee. And I had 7 families come and we sat in the outside classroom for safety. And it was some of the same parents as the first one, but some different parents also. And we discussed COVID testing because they were curious about that because they had seen it in my community update as something that was coming. And we talked about mask voting. So they were very curious about how that was happening on the board, the voting each month. And I explained it to them. And then they talked a little bit about pickup and drop off procedures. So just to let you know what some of the community members are talking to me about. We've already discussed Fund the Wonder. Oh, sorry. Was there a question? No. I think that's everything that's new. The only thing that I don't have on here that I wanted to mention was yesterday, the partnership held, well, all week they've been doing the book fair, which has been amazingly successful. But last night they did a family night and there was a food truck and there was t-shirt sales and an improv group. And it was just so well done and well attended. And they really add so much to the school community. So I just like to express my gratitude for all of the work that they do. And creating that really, family community. So lots of kids running around having fun and connecting and playing gaga ball and jumping in the ravine that had no water in it, which was good. There's no water, but I mean, just, really joyful. And I want to say it was really nice. And I think that's really all of my updates for this month. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
The extra activities have always been wonderful. And the parents do a wonderful job helping sponsor all that.
I love the testing program. It was much more expansive than I expected it to be. I thought it was like somebody gets sick at school, you test them. I didn't know they could bring their kids in. I think that's great.
I like the drive up option too. That's super convenient. And the best part is that it's not that archaic thing up your brain kind of test, and a little bit more bearable. So I'm very glad to hear about that.
It sounds more civilized.
That's a great word for it.
I think we just want to make sure that because it sounds opt-in sounds scary, we just want to keep making parents feel safe that we will always ask permission and that it just provides options. We don't want anyone to feel that we're going to test their child without getting permission. So that's kind of the message that I want to make sure that everybody hears.
That's good. That's very important. I agree. All right, I think we're ready to move on to other committee updates. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to read over minutes from all the different committee updates. But if you had questions over anything that you saw in any of them, we don't have to go in any particular order. All right, well, we're keeping it simple. All right, if there is nothing else in terms of any of the updates, did anyone have anything to either share or they want to make sure it gets on the November agenda? All righty then, sounds good. In that case,
I have one quick thing. So I was in attendance at the finance committee, but I'm not on the minutes. So I don't know if that needs.
I will fix that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I know I was on Zoom, so.
oh, we love some Zoom. I think this is my fourth today since noon-ish. So yeah.
Is that all?
Is that all?
That's it. That's it.
Maybe I think since noon.
I take it when I can get it. That's it. We're cutting it off.
Can you
now.
refresh us on the date of the November meeting? Board meeting?
Yes, it is on my calendar. I have November 18th, which is a Thursday, and we understand that you have class, Mr. Chuck. I do not believe that that will be a problem. If we have to do without your presence, we understand. I know Stephen was traveling. He's in Turkey. I think he'll be back. So that way, I think we'll be okay with the quorum.
And Chuck, I'm sorry about the change to the, I'm really sorry. I have grad school class actually on Tuesday nights, and I'll be done at Christmas, and then we can go back to Tuesdays. So thank you for your understanding. I appreciate it.
We all have to kind of juggle some things and make some things work from time to time. That is not a problem.
I'll be in Wales in December and in January. So I'll be calling in from there. Maybe my technology will work better from Wales than it does from my house.
Probably. All right. Anything else from anyone? Fantastic. All righty. In that case, I will go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn. Not all at once.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Motion carried. We can now officially adjourn. Everyone enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great Halloween if I don't see anybody before then. Be safe as always. See y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.